Fair and generous treatment of others, especially in a sports contest. That is the Oxford Dictionary's definition of sportsmanship. Now, the courtside queen's definition of sportsmanship is the ability to celebrate and or congratulate regardless of whether you win or lose. I'm the courtside queen, Rochelle, and I want to welcome you back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to break down this whole Aryna Sabalenka controversy in terms of her poor sportsmanship, her sore loser-ness after her loss in the Roland Garros final this past Sunday. Let's get into it. So as I'm sure you've heard over the past few days, Aryna Sabalenka is in hot water because of the way that she acted during and especially after the French Open final on Sunday against Coco Gauff. Now, I want to dig into this step by step because I think that there are some really, really important factors that we need to talk about as it pertains to this situation. Now, if you're like me, then you probably watched all of the commentary leading up to this match this past Sunday, and you got to see that American Sloane Stephens did an interview with Coco Gauff before the match. In that interview, there were some really, really interesting things that were said. But I want to point out something that's very specific that was in this interview. Sloane Stephens told Coco, she said, Aryna is a really, really good fighter. Don't quote me exactly, but you are an even better fighter. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. When I first heard her say that, I was like, oh, she's gassing Coco up. Now, I'm not mad about it because Coco might need to get gas. That might be the thing that pushes her over the edge. So I was really intrigued with that statement. But then once they went back to the live desk, right, with Lefko, he asked her about that. He said, now, I heard you say that Aryna's a great fighter, but Coco's an even better fighter. What did you mean by that? And who do you think is going to win this match? And Sloane said, I want to make it perfectly clear. I want Coco to win this match, but it's going to be tough for her. She said, but here's the advantage that she has. And this is the reason why I said she's an even better fighter. And here's what she said. Aryna Sabalenka, or as she called her, Sabs, right? Her nickname. She says she has the ability to play lights out. She said, but you also have to watch her to see how her attitude is, because she has the tendency to begin to lose it mentally. She said, if you watch, when she starts to play in a way that she's not happy with, she'll start to lose it and flip out on her box. She'll start to yell at them and focus more on complaining about the way that she's playing, i.e. blaming them, than she is on the match itself. She said, and if she does that, that is going to be Coco's chance to pounce. I noticed that Caroline Wozniacki on the desk, she disagreed with that. She was like, no, Sabalenka is just too strong. She's going to be able to take this. It's going to be no problem whatsoever, and on and on and on. And Sloane just sat and she's like, okay, we'll see. And I'm telling you, when Coco began to come back in that first set from that being down 4-1, you began to see Aryna start to unravel. And I thought it was very interesting because, of course, I remembered what I had just heard Sloane say. Now, I've been watching Aryna Sabalenka since she first came on the scene. I've been watching most of these players since they first came on the scene. And so I have definitely seen her break down in terms of her mental state while she's on the court. Now, I know that tennis is a very lonely sport, right? You don't have anybody to complain to, so you usually will turn to your box and complain to them. But there's a fine line between turning to them sometimes and absolutely losing it on them throughout the match. And that's what we saw. And so once the match was over, we're not going to go in and recap the match. Hopefully you got a chance to watch it for yourself, or at least see the highlights of it. we heard Sabalenka get on the stand on the podium and immediately complain about the weather, immediately complain about the way that she played and didn't play. She congratulated Coco and her team because that's kind of the script that everybody sticks to, but she didn't give her the kudos and the props that she deserved. And I'm talking about on court. I'm not even talking about in the press room. And I took note of that and I found it very interesting that right there, immediately after the match, that she was already in that mode. I found it very interesting. And I said to myself, when she goes to press and after she has a chance to calm down and decompress a little bit, we're going to see how she handles this. Now, before we go into what happened in the press room, I want to preface this by saying tennis is extremely unique in that it is the only sport that requires the loser to sit on court while the winner celebrates, goes to celebrate with their family and their team, gets to do all of these things while they have to sit there and brew in the loss, right? And that final match, the loser does not get to leave the court. They don't get to go to the locker room. They don't get any chance to like decompress from what just happened. They're just sitting on the court. So all of the emotions, whatever comes over them, it comes over them right there on the court in front of everybody, camera in their face, all thousands and thousands of fans just staring down at them. So if it's tears, if it's anger, if it's whatever the emotion is, it's right there on court. And then after the winner gets to go celebrate, you get to you get to go get your second place trophy or award, and you also get to take the mic and say whatever it is that you feel the need to say. Now, most players, they have a kind of a script that they stick to, where they congratulate the other person, they thank their team, they thank the tournament and all of the pieces that go with the tournament, they thank the fans, right? They kind of have a script that they go with. And so that helps them be able to remember what to say when they're up there, even if they are the loser. But now we get to go into the press room. Now, the press room does happen pretty quickly after the match, but you still should get a chance to decompress a little bit. Maybe you get a chance to spend a little bit of time with your team, maybe even get to think a little bit about what you should or shouldn't say in that press room. But a lot of times for most players, the press room can be an emotional place also where all of the feelings come out. So while in press, Aryna sits at a table very similar to where I am, and she has the people out there asking her questions, and she begins to say things like, Coco didn't play great today. I just played terrible. Coco wouldn't have won that match if I hadn't played so bad, or she wouldn't have won that match if she had played Iga Swiatek instead of me. She began to say things like that, which was very eye-opening and enlightening. And it's not really something that you hear most people say when they go into press. Because remember, tennis is one of those sports that is considered a ladies or a gentleman's sport, right? It's not a sport where we poke and jab at the other people. It's a sport where we are supposed to remain gracious in loss or in winning. Now, we talked about what sportsmanship is. And when you get in front of that camera, when you are speaking about what just happened, sportsmanship and graciousness is an extremely important thing, because all of your words and actions are going to be captured and never forgotten. And so this is one of the reasons why I believe that the Belarusian Aryna Sabalenka will never really be able to live this moment down. She will never be able to escape this particular tournament. As tennis fans, in 10, 20 years, we will still remember the day that this happened. We will still remember the time that she was a sore loser. She can go on to win 20 more majors, but I promise you that this will forever be a part of her specific legacy. Let me prove it to you. I want you to name for me a player who has had a bad moment on the court or off the court, but pertaining to the court, that moment does not come up when we talk about them. When we talk about Novak Djokovic, some consider him the greatest of all time, right? On the men's side, he's the person who has the most majors under his belt. That's 24. And yet and still, we still remember when Novak was new on the scene and he would cramp. He would retire from a lot of matches. He would complain and cry and act like a brat. We still remember that. And I even heard them mention that during this year's French Open. He will never live it down. Let's think about Serena Williams when she had the moment on the court with the lines person who called her for a foot fault, and she went totally ballistic on her, and how that continued to be brought up over and over and over again for the rest of her career. And let's look at John McEnroe, who has had countless encounters with chair umpires and breaking rackets and just going off and throwing tantrums, and how that is, again, a part of his legacy. Now, does that take away from the accomplishments of McEnroe, Serena Williams, or Djokovic? It does not. But their faults and flaws are also always talked about alongside their greatness. So this moment in history is going to be forever imprinted on Aryna Sabalenka and her career and her legacy. Meanwhile, Coco Gauff is off doing the press run. She's doing her thing. When she got to sit in with the press and they told her what Sabalenka said, she was actually surprised. She's like, wow, she said that? I am shocked, and I don't even know how to not only respond, but how to defend her against that. And the internet has been going crazy, not only bashing Sabalenka, and in some cases canceling Sabalenka, but it has actually elevated Coco Gauff and made her even more loved in this arena. Because listen, at 21 years old, she responded to this like a G. She responded to this like someone who was just ready for the spotlight. Let's look at the contrast with Coco Gauff, who's out here getting makeovers, going on other sports commentary shows, going on morning shows, late night shows, WNBA games, and on social media just doing her thing. And I even heard her say on an interview when Stephen A. Smith asked her, what was Aryna Sabalenka's problem? Why would she say that? Coco said something that I think is going to go down in the history books. She said, let's cut her some slack. It's not easy when you're in this position. Let's just cut her some slack. I mean, how perfect is that? We're talking about now, not only did you win, not only did you handle what was said about you like a G, right? But now you are saying, show the girl some compassion. It's not easy to lose. I mean, that is so perfect. That is so perfect. And then after all of the backlash, Sabalenka put a statement out on her Instagram story. And here's what she said. She said, yesterday was a tough one. Coco handled the conditions much better than I did and fully deserved to win. She was the better player yesterday, and I want to give her the credit she earned. You all know me. I'm always going to be honest and human in how I process these moments. I made over 70 unforced errors, so I can't pretend it was a great day for me. But both things can be true. I didn't play my best, and Coco stepped up and played with poise and purpose. She earned that title. Respect. Now, it would have been better if she had come out and said something like that when she had the chance, because now it just looks like you're trying to fix the cancellation. Now it looks like you're trying to just get people off your back. That would have been the better thing to say so that you never had to deal with this in the first place. Aryna Sabalenka, this honestly is a huge, huge disappointment. The way that you acted as the number one player in the world, who is clearly the dominant player. We can look at the points. We can look at the amount of wins that you have. We can look at just how many people you are beating in such a dominant fashion. There was no need for you to say the things that you said. It only made you look bad. And I honestly feel sorry for you in a sense, because what I know as someone who has been in the tennis world for so, so long, nearly 3 decades, you will not live this down. But here's the good thing about mistakes. Somebody will always come and learn from it. So whether it's her that learns from it or whether it's someone coming behind her who's going to be in the same position later who learns from it, at least we know that we will probably not deal with this situation again, because let's face it, nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to be canceled, and nobody wants to be in the news for something like this. Being a good sport, not being a sore loser, is something that you really, really need to master when you are in a competitive world. And that goes from sports to business to just life in general. Now we just have to wait and see how she pulls up from this. Is the backlash going to affect her play over the next few weeks? These next few weeks are very important because we have another major coming up. One thing that I have seen from Aryna Sabalenka is when she loses a big match, especially in the final of a 1,000 event or a major, that it takes her some time to get back to the right headspace. So let's see what happens over the next few weeks as we move into grass court season and as we move into Wimbledon, which is another major where, by the way, she is still the favorite to win it. Can she make it happen? Can she go deep into this next tournament with all of these things looming over her head? Because see, here's what happened. By putting tennis on TNT, a major sports network, more tennis viewers have been opened up to the world of tennis. And so there are going to be more people watching Wimbledon than probably ever before, just based on the exposure that we have gotten from TNT for the French Open. And so the pressure and the heat are going to be on Sabalenka to see how she acts as she moves through these rounds. Now, do I expect her to go in and lose in the first round? No, I absolutely do not. She'll probably have a good draw, an easy draw, at least up until the fourth round or the quarterfinals. But will she be able to handle the immense pressure that I believe is coming her way during Wimbledon? It remains to be seen, and we'll definitely make sure we cover all of those topics as it pertains to her and so many more things in the tennis world. This is the Courtside Queen signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.